Adi. Magandang gabi po, Pilipinas. Good evening. This is Mari Kaimo, and I'm here with Doc Iggy Agbayani of the Concerned Doctors and Citizens of the Philippines. Good evening, Doc.
Good evening, Mari. Good evening, viewers.
Doc, ang medyo huling-huli na tayo sa ano. We haven't updated our followers of our Facebook pages. Our latest Facebook page is now called Concerned ano ba, DX and CX ba?
Ganun ba?
Concerned DX and CX
Ay,
kasi tinitira tayo palagi
akala
ng
ko
ano, di
ay
ba? May bago
Oo.
na naman. But until we can properly promote that, we've got the other one, which is Concerned DX and CX of the Philippines. So if you're not up to date yet, and you're a viewer, a regular follower of CDC Philippines, you might want to check out that Facebook page, Concerned DX and CX of the Philippines. Doc, update muna natin yung ating mga tagapanood. What's happening with CDC PH? We've kind of disappeared from the scene for a while, or at least as far as they're concerned.
Well, last week we were able to have some meetings with the Department of Health Secretary.
Good evening, Sir
Noy,
Nonoy.
Nonoy. Good evening.
Hi, good
Narinig yung
evening.
background.
Good evening.
Yes, we had meetings. You were saying, Doc, we had meetings with the Secretary of Health.
Parang ano siya. Initially, we had a Zoom meeting with them, and there were quite a lot of us. Practically the whole CDC PH, together with some congressmen. But basically, we're just touching on certain points on the lockdowns, on ivermectin, and he was already saying like he was going to support promoting ivermectin instead of saying negative things about it. So last week we had a more intimate meeting. He allowed for a face-to-face meeting together with Mr. Nick Perlas, and we wanted to see kasi how honest the man is, and see if he's really up to what he's saying. So, well, he looks like he's very honest. But kaya lang, when we were asking for is there a statement about the ivermectin news being out there? Sabi niya, yes, we already have a press release. So as you saw, the press release nila, parang I would call it half-baked. Yes, it does say na it does allow for off-label prescribing. Pero yung title niya, parang hindi yan eh. Parang title niya was like, it's a precaution pa rin. There's a precaution and shit. But it is legal. Parang ganun tuloy. Parang it is not recommended, and the only time you can do it is because it's legal. Something to that effect. If I'll look for the actual wording.
And then it refers to vaccines pa rin at the end. It says, but we still recommend vaccines over...
Yes, talagang pinupush hard talaga ng DOH ang vaccine eh.
Yung tingin ko dyan kasi masyadong malaki na yung commitment nila para sa bakuna. Kasi katulad nung nasa 21 budget na nasa-approve na 82.5 billion pesos. Tapos may hiningi sila na 25 billion pesos para sa Bayanihan 3, 107 billion pesos na yung igagana nila. Kaya hanggat maaari i-push talaga nila yun. Kaya pag yung so-called vaccine hesitance is bad news for them. They cannot justify the 100 billion pesos kung malaki yung ang vaccination hesitance sa mga tao. Kaya maski maraming mga negative injuries, they will hide it under the rug at saka parang walang masamang nangyayari, tuloy-tuloy lang yung kanilang narrative.
Bago pang lahat, batiin muna natin yung mga tagapanood natin. Si Ariel says, good evening po sa lahat. Good evening, Ariel. Sabi ni Vic Yang, good PM Mari, Doc Iggy, and Sir Nonoy. Sana live din ito sa CDC PH Facebook page. Unfortunately, Vic, wala na tayong CDC PH FB page. The last one we had was again closed down by Facebook. Like I said earlier, ang bago natin page so far is Concerned DX and CX of the Philippines. That one is growing pa lang. I think we have over 1,000 pa lang there.
Yeah.
Jenard says, hello, kamusta na, Jenard? Long time no hear, ano? NE3386 says, good evening po, Sir Marian, Doc Iggy. And finally, si Polo Shirt Samurai says, Gov Gwen is a disappointment. She chose partisan politics over the people. Do you agree or disagree, Doc Iggy, Sir Nonoy?
What again?
Gov Gwen daw is a disappointment. She chose partisan politics over the people.
Well, I think there's some kind of behind the scenes negotiations. No, I'm not really privy to it, but I think she's still fighting for it. But for now, it will be under some kind of compromise lang.
So
Yes,
there-
yes. It's more of...
Sino yun? Go ahead.
Sige, Doc. Yeah, it's more of a compromise kasi if you will look at the IATF meeting in Cebu last Monday, it was a full force. It was practically gang up or a bullying, no? Dinala nila si Secretary Carlo Nograles, Secretary Duque, si General Galvez, and number one box pusher si Dr. Salbanya, no? So talagang they gang up them and they give them a lot of time, a lot of... Tapos walang opposing views sa position nila. So it was sort of parang ganging up and
Lopsided.
bullying. And I think that was the Secretary of Government stood her ground, no? Kahit anong sabihin ninyo na nakakatakot, blah, blah, mas nakakatakot yung economic dislocation na nangyari sa Cebu. Ayun ang ayaw na mangyari na pagpatuloy pa ni Governor Gwen. So somehow she stood her ground, but yung the full force of the national government is being pressured on her and the provincial board. So medyo mag-compromise talaga siya. So I do not think that she sold or she principle or whatsoever. She kasi too much pressure.
Okay, medyo nagtachapi si
Yeah.
Sir Nonoy. Sabi ni Jen are doing good. Hopefully our efforts continue. And sabi niya have an impact. Doc Iggy, are our efforts having an impact, do you think? Our collective efforts, hindi lang tayo sa CDC PH but all our members as well.
Well, hard to say, no? Actually, we have our feedback is through Viber pa lang. Yung mga Facebook comments, I get it privately. So, ang dami. People are quite they really miss that yung sort of very fast interaction. So, hindi ko masasagot kasi sa dami.
Oo nga.
So, but before, I think there's an activity naman we still clam of it. But mostly, I think now the problem is about this being forced vaccinate tayo.
Just to clarify for some of our viewers, ang problema kasi natin is nung lumaki yung pages natin, like the previous page, PH Doctors was huge, 8,000 plus. Tapos sumunod dun was the Flatten the Fear. Parehong sinara yun ng Facebook. So medyo, and then we are individually being suspended, tawag nga namin sa mga sarili namin yung mga inmate at repeat offender na sa Facebook penal colony. Dahil that is really jarring. It really does affect our ability to communicate with you guys, our co-members sa CDC PH. So please bear with us. We're doing the best we can. Sabi nga ni Doc Iggy, nasa Viber na tayo for the most part. And the scale, again, yung reach ng Viber is much more limited kaysa sa Facebook, unfortunately, sa ngayon anyway.
But Mari, if I may go back to sa press release ng DOH, this is how they announced it. This was on July 22 pa. Valid prescription required for off-label use of ivermectin. That's the title. Valid prescription required for off-label use of ivermectin. DOH reiterates that all human-grade, imagine that, all human-grade ivermectin products currently registered are for the treatment of internal and external parasites. Off-label use of ivermectin for managing COVID-19 can only be facilitated through a valid prescription. While we recognize recent calls for its use, The positive effects of ivermectin have yet to be proven. To date, there is no approved prophylactic drug against COVID-19. We call on everyone to continue practicing minimum public health standards and getting vaccinated when it's their turn. Ganun pa rin. Ano, I
Parang,
agree. Pero nung kinikwento niya sa amin, he's such a nice guy to talk to. Referring to Department of Health Secretary. But when it came to the actual statement, it's a bit disappointing, to say the least.
can you repeat for us, Doc, what it was he told you that he had signed? Parang very
Oh, that,
promising.
in a way, parang he was saying he signed it already. I'm allowing it for off-label use. Parang ganun eh.
Mm. Meron pa tayong isa pang previous meeting, Doc, with Executive Secretary Medjaldea and Senator Bongo. And that was another congenial, very friendly meeting. What did you think of that meeting, Doc?
Yeah, that was parang
About a month?
it feels like
Okay.
months ago. Yes, I agree. It's also disappointing.
Mm.
We were together with sila Mike Defensor, sila Marcoleta, Congressman Marcoleta, Congressman Defensor, Congressman si Herrera, and many of us were there. No? But in the end, I felt they were saying, yes, we'll listen to you, we're listening to you, but we won't be doing anything. That's how I felt about it. They were just listening to us. Because remember, we did not have the president in front of us.
Correct.
And they knew that we are one step towards the president. And we were feeling like, why do we have to talk about this? Why don't you just tell us to have a meeting with the president? And let us say straight to the president that there is strong evidence for ivermectin. Unlike what the DOH secretary and FDA director general is saying. Parang I was a bit disappointed in that. And I was saying na we're still going to talk. We're still going to do all these things. Sabi ko, remember I said na, but there's an urgency. This is really something that we should be addressing head on because it's causing our economy, it's causing our lives, and certain things are being done to us because we haven't solved the problem.
Correct. Doc, pasok lang natin itong mga comments. Sabi ni Vic, the Cebu Provincial Governor or government, I'm not sure which one, met with IATF last June 29. Mukhang di naman nag-give in si Gov. Gwen. I understand the sentiment here kasi parang ang feeling ko, no, personally, I felt like the Cebu government is doing a much better job at handling the quarantining than IATF itself. So parang to yield to the IATF, say, oh sige, yung sistema na lang ninyo sundin natin, seems to convey that feeling na parang nag-give in. What do you think, Doc?
Yeah, actually, I have the same feeling din eh. But, the body language was different though. You saw her not wearing a mask.
Mm-hmm.
You saw her, face-to-face with them. Parang I think she's sending a message to the people. But to them, they're saying, okay, if you want to compromise, maybe there is some point of compromise. Pero yung body language niya yun naman na nakikita ko ron. I mean, she was not wearing a mask at all.
Right.
And
At one
like
point,
in your
at one point,
face.
she was, Doc. Nung nakaupo pa siya in her seat, she was wearing a mask. But when she started to move, nagtanggal na. Obviously, because it was very difficult to understand many of the speakers dahil nga naka-mask, no? I don't know why they don't consider that if it's a public forum. Paano nyo maintindihan yung yun nga, balik na naman tayo sa takot nila mahawa, mahuli or whatever. May comment ulit tayo sa galing kay Sally Clark. Sabi ni Sally, hi everyone, seeing so many recent posts of employees being coerced despite their personal preferences. What can we do? What can we do indeed, Doc? Sir Nonoy, what do you think? What can we do?
Ultimately, pupunta talaga tayo sa legal kasi a lot of what the state is doing now are actually illegal. There is no executive, there is no Republic Act, no? no executive order, no, not even department order, say Department of Health or the ILG. There's no legal basis. So the government is practically doing this and all this illegality, and it's just that the even I think that even the legal profession has been remiss on this, media, etc. Practically all sectors. So it will really require a small group of brave and courageous people to sue the state. May not entirely maybe the state, but maybe certain department who have been enforcing all.
Whoops.
Yeah, actually to ano lang, to echo si Sir Noynoy, yung ano nga, there is actually no law which says na you must be vaccinated in order to work. So all these things na kino-coerce tayo is a rule within your corporation, within your company. And I think that to me is illegal kasi health is involved. Remember, iba po yung health. Iba yung pinaparequire ka lang na, for example, ibigay mo yung telephone number mo and address. Iba yun, ha? Of course, that's a requirement. They must know where you live. Pero to for you to be injected by something, don't forget the sanctity of our bodies. Parang hindi naman tama yun. And again, even the laws nga are not even allowing it. Because they know it's experimental, it's an EUA, you cannot sue these
Big
big
pharma.
pharmas if something happens to you. We do not know the long-term safety. So we can actually contest your company. Is this a violation of my rights to the sanctity of my body? Yung nga sinasabi nilang magiging Nuremberg issue eh. Because you cannot experiment on anyone without his consent. So now, are the companies saying they have this power over the employees? Wala bang ipoprotect? Hindi ba ipoprotect ng gobyerno ang mga tao? So I will tell you a little something. We are preparing something in the legal aspect. We are actually talking to someone that is under parang human rights issues, but we won't reveal yet until we have that meeting already. Because I think this has become a human rights issue, and the government should protect its employees, its citizens, and the employees are being forced. Kaya lang baligtad eh, mukhang hinahayaan pa. Pinapabayaan pa and maybe encouraged, but I don't really like to say na encourage kasi yes, I have to prove so na ini-encourage nila. But come on, it's advertised everywhere. Ayan, si Doc Homer, he's
Homer,
here. Hi,
nasa construction site yan si Doc Homer. May pinapagawa kang bagong bahay, Doc?
Wala.
Okay, so welcome to the show, Doc. To be fair lang, no? Merong dole na declaration na bawal ang pilitin ang empleyado. It's going around, making the rounds of at least again the Viber groups, but it's out there. There is a memo. I don't remember how many months back that was written, and I don't believe that it's been changed. No, si Sally has another question. She's, how do we join your Viber groups? Paano nga ba? Si Doc Homer siguro pinaka-techie sa atin dito. If you're not, di ba kasi kung hindi mo friend or wala sa'yo yung number, how do you join a Viber group from outside? Who knows?
We have to send them a Viber link. We
So
have to send them a Viber link.
we can probably post that in our Facebook page, ganun.
Yes, we can paste that on our Facebook page.
Okay,
The
itong
link to the Viber.
okay, magandang segue question ito ni
Yeah,
Anal
si
Jessica.
Sally Clark, I know her for many years na eh. On Facebook. We are friends on Facebook, pero
Okay.
hindi kami friends in real life.
Okay. Okay. Sabi ni Jessic, why are you still using Facebook? Why don't you migrate these awake Filipinos away from FB? Dahil the vast majority of Filipinos are still on Facebook. That's the problem, and it's easier to communicate with larger number of Filipinos on Facebook than any other platform that exists. To our knowledge, kung meron kayong alam na ibang platform dyan na hindi naman nagsisensor at bukas sa atin, then please do drop us a comment. Sabi ni Ariel, any contact persons here in Bicol, particularly Naga City in Camarines Sur? I didn't hear anybody here aside from me is fighting for ivermectin. Ayan, sa mga taga Naga City in Camarines Sur, meron ba dyan? May kasama ba si Ariel Alde sa paglaban para sa ivermectin sa Naga City in Camarines Sur? Do you know of any, Docs, Homer and Iggy?
No me no.
Si Doc Villa, taga Bicol, kaso lang nasa Florida.
Baka hindi makatulong. Okay. Si
Yung
Vic,
ano pala, mas meron yung merong Telegram page ang Coach and Doctors and Citizens of the
right.
Philippines. At the moment, more than 600 members on there. Hanapin nyo lang sa Telegram.
Pero 600 lang yun, Sir Nonoy. Ang habol natin libo-libo o daang libong Pilipino. Yan ang problema Diba? Okay, sabi ni Vic, walang word of honor yung mga yan, si Duque and Gang. I don't know if anyone here will not agree with you. Okay. Sorry. Chilled siya, 445 says, good evening, Sir Mari, Doc Iggy, Sir Bien. So happy to see you guys again stream live after a long time. The voice of reason and common sense is back. Mabuhay po kayo. Mabuhay din po kayo. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you.
All Sides Matter says, I also overheard from Doc Landrito on his online consultation, Zoom meeting about CDC Ph meeting with Senator Bongo. Face-to-face daw po sana kayo with the President. Ano ba, sa palagay ninyo, Doc Iggy, is there a possibility someday makikipagharapan sa atin si Presidente?
I don't think so.
Si Doc Homer nakangiti.
I don't think so.
Si Doc Homer, alam.
May alam yata si Doc Homer.
You know, I'm always a very optimistic person.
Ako rin. Sa totoo lang.
Pero not in this case.
Aray ko. Okay, mas masakit yata yun. Sabi ni Vic, according to Nick Perlas of COVID Call to Humanity, they have found at least 38 violations of the Constitution and other laws in the implementation of the current protocols. Yes, 38. If you want to read them, go to COVID Call to Humanity. Sulat ni Sir Nick Perlas yan.
We're in touch. We're very much in touch with Mr. Nick Perlas. As you know, he's part of CDC Ph, and we are always discussing our approach to mga legal issues. Then, so tandaan nyo kasi CDC Ph is not just about the doctors; it's very much about the citizens.
Correct. Ang dami natin malalaking pangalan sa CDC. All Sides Matter says, and nasabi ni Doc Landrito na nasabi nyo na lahat sa kanila noong sa Zoom meeting, but Bongo said na we are open to hear everything kahit na-explain na lahat ng mga doktor. Sabi ni Bunny, hi Doc Iggy, a friend told me that long-term use of ivermectin as a prophylactic will affect its efficacy because the body develops an immunity, quote-unquote, to it over time. How true is this? I've been taking it since September. Ako naman, pareho tayo since September. Meron bang mabibuild up na tolerance, mga docs, sa ivermectin ang katawan?
In theory, I think pwede. In theory, kasi it does behave a little like an antibiotic or antiviral. So, it might be some kind of virus that might develop na maging resistant. So, dapat nga we should use ivermectin judiciously din What do you think, Homer? Si Homer baka may opinion din.
Yeah, of course, any drug will develop some form of resistance over time. So I think tama, Dr. Iggy, that we have to use this judiciously. So, but I think if we were taking it once a week or once every 2 weeks, I don't think that should be a problem. But I don't think that would build any form of resistance to the virus or ivermectin. So, mali yung iniisip kasi ng iba. Immunity, it builds parang magiging immune daw yung katawan. Mali, it's actually the ivermectin, the virus can become immune to the drug or resistant to the drug. I think that's the right thing.
Okay, would the answer be, let's say, a shift to hydroxychloroquine or quercetin or vitamin D for 1, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then go back to ivermectin after a while? Does that sound like a way out? Or may nahanap kang bago, Doc, May bago ka, curcumin. Is that
there's a new kumbaga set of papers showing that curcumin or turmeric seems to have good effect on reducing hospitalization. You know? But of course, the number of studies is not as many as ivermectin. Just to go back to ivermectin, no, the only way ivermectin will become resistant to, I mean, the virus, SARS-CoV virus become resistant to ivermectin if the virus is continually being challenged by ivermectin. So that means that siguro, and it has to be like a very, very high dose of ivermectin, and later on the virus will develop a resistance to it. So, but technically, if you're taking it prophylactically, if you look at malaria, for how many years we've been using hydroxychloroquine against
Mm.
malaria?
Mm.
But of
Years,
course,
Doc, years.
yes. But there are areas
Decades,
where
decades.
there are already hydroxychloroquine resistant malaria. But again, we still use hydroxychloroquine as a prophylaxis for malaria. So if they do develop resistance, I think that would take also a few number of years.
Uh, Doc, if you can refresh my memory, anong dosage ng hydroxychloroquine? Is it once every 3 days or
200,
twice a week, di ba?
200, yeah, it's 200 milligrams twice a day for uh, for 5 days, and then
For
every
treatment yun. Pero kung prophylaxis,
ganun din, 5 days, and then every week one dose, diba?
okay. Sally, kaibigan ni Doc Iggy says, even though it is illegal to pass on COVID costs, many companies, sandali lang ha, let me just get rid of this for a minute para mabasa natin maigi. Even though it's illegal to pass on COVID costs, many companies pass on COVID costs at great detriment to their subcontractors and employees. My business suffered very greatly. Hindi ko naisip yun. Sir Nonoy, is this happening on a repeated, madalas mo mangyari ito talaga? We're being joined, by the way, by Doc Jade na medyo bubong
I
lata.
think
Excuse me, nakita niyo to.
I think it's happening all over the country, hindi lang, I think, small businesses. I think one
Oo.
way for companies to cut costs, really to pass it to their employees or to the subcontractors. So it's really happening not only in small business. I think it's all over the country as being.
Sir Nonoy, sandali, sandali.
Ano, 'di ba yung recently
Ayan, go ahead.
nag-announce na yung PAL na bankrupt na sila. They will file for bankruptcy.
Philippine Airlines ito.
So pati malalaking Philippine Airlines. Tapos yun nga yung sa GDP, gross domestic product na lumabas ng first quarter 2021, ang katumbas noon first quarter 2018 ang value. So pala halos kung ano yung production natin noong 2018, noong first quarter, ayun din halos yung production ng 2021. Maski tumaas na yung population natin by about 5 million people. So ang output ganun pa rin. So talagang tuloy-tuloy pa rin yung damage at ang damage na ginagawa ng lockdown. Talagang hindi na makatarungan.
Good evening, Doc Jade. We're joined here by Doc
Hi,
Jade
good
Del
evening.
Mundo.
Good evening.
So Nonoy, somebody, when the person who mentioned PAL to me was saying it's what they're doing is only a tax avoidance issue. Parang para makaiwas sa it's a business strategy to declare bankruptcy. Is it really that, or is it a fact that among 95% yata ng airline industry natin apektado, and believably, I mean, this is very reasonable to assume because you locked everything down for 15 months. These planes have to be paid for, the hangars have to be paid for, ground people have to be, ang daming cost na involved, and I can imagine that the impact on the industry and this particular airline would have been greatly affected. So why should we not expect a big airline like that to file for bankruptcy after this long?
Kasi ano yun hindi lang pati yung mga eroplano kasi yan nililis yan Either you buy the airplanes or you lease it. So when you lease it, so when you buy it, it will depreciating, no? Nandyan siya takbo, so nagde-depreciate siya. After some time na kasi ang buhay ng aeroplano. Now, if you lease it, hindi mo pag may-ari, pero babayaran mo pa rin yung manufacturer, whether it's Boeing or Airbus, etc. Babayaran mo pa rin yun. Maski hindi tumatakbo yung aeroplano. So doon pa lang talo ka na agad eh. Plus pa yung mga empleyado mo, maintenance crew mo, marami. Kaya hindi pag sinasabi na parang palusot, yung hindi nila naintindihan, yung magsasabi siguro niyan yung mga hindi pa naka
Oops, naka-mute ka, Sir Noy. You muted yourself there for a while. There we go. Okay.
Oo.
Pasok na natin to
Yun.
sa
Di ba narinig sabi ko kanina?
No, yung dulong lang biglang namatay. Sabi ni Vic Yang, good evening Doc Homer. Tapos tanong ni Georgia Kotaoko, can we sue the company if they coerce employees to vaccinate? Oops, naputol si Doc Homer. Can we sue the company if they coerce employees to vaccinate?
I think based on Department of Labor ruling, the answer is yes. Kasi lang madugo.
Okay. Sir Noy, yan, nakamute ka. Okay. Sabi ni Sally Clark, Sir, for the employees being forced, I'm particularly seeing this affecting household staff kasi takot siguro yung mga amo, no? So, kailangan pinababukan. So, what is the choice there? Either magpabakuna ka o alis ka ng wala ka ng trabaho.
But they're covered by DOLE din, di ba?
Yeah, theoretically.
Pero masyadong micro na yung level eh. Unlike kasi corporation, like for instance, 20 employees, medyo papasukan pa ng Department of Labor. Pero pag household level na, maski may batas, hindi ang enforcement and implementation ng Department of Labor is close to zero. Kaya yun, ang solusyon talaga dyan, umalis ka or tiisin mo. Mahirap talaga.
And speaking of coercion, we attempted to go into a restaurant earlier tonight that required vaccine certification from anyone over 66. Has anybody heard of an IATF protocol that this is enforced? Akala ko pinag-uusapan pa. Sabi ng restaurant manager, enforced na daw ito. Hindi pwedeng kumain sa labas ng 66 and above kung walang dalang vaccine certificate.
I haven't heard about the vaccine certificate. Basta alam ko, nanay ko hindi pa rin pwede.
Okay.
Pero yes, he already has a certificate. Pero I didn't know that it can now be used as a pass.
Parang
siguro mga discussion within IATF, we have not but no written order about it.
Sorry, hindi ko naintindihan yung medyo nagsabi ka, Sir Noy. Doc Jade, as former DOH Undersecretary, would you know anything about this? Is it already enforced na kailangan ng vaccine certificate bago kumain sa labas? For 66 and above, no?
Actually, hindi naman kami kumakain sa labas eh.
So hindi mo alam.
Wala akong problema doon.
Exempted ka kasi hindi ka lumalabas.
According to my children, marami naman daw matatandang kumakain sa mga restaurants.
Yeah, but maybe they have a vaccine pass.
No, walang mga vaccine. Alam nila walang vaccine pass eh. Hindi nila nakikita ng hihingi ng vaccine pass. Yung mga security guards.
Ito, security guard ang sabi sa amin, hindi pwede kung tinanong ilang taon na daw si ma'am. Tapos sabi ko bakit? Kasi kailangan na daw ng vaccine certificate. So pumasok ako para kausapin yung manager at yan ang sabi, IATF policy na daw na pwede kumain doon kung may vaccine certification ka. So meron na tayong diskriminasyon.
Pwede kung ganyan, i-boycott na natin yung mga ganong klase mga restaurant.
Yeah. At the same time, medyo parang IATF policy yun. Ano magagawa natin? Ano magagawa nila?
I-boycott na natin yung nagsuggest sa IATF.
yun ang solusyon para sa akin.
Kasi people are angry with IATF, di ba? You know what? It's not the IFTF making those rules. It's that doctor.
Let's name names, Doc. Sino yung doktor na yan?
Obvious naman eh. He was there in Cebu. Dr.
Si
Salvania is the main
Salvania.
doctor.
Alright. This is all his idea. According to, pismid din daw ang face shields, face masks, and lockdowns. Sa kanila din daw galing.
Mm.
Okay.
Kasi I'm sure these people in IATF, they have families din naman. They are having problems then. Pero, they're not the authority making the policies of IATF. Eh.
Yeah, well, that's the problem. It seems like these people don't care. It's been 16 months. Nasa 16 months na tayo.
Yes, kaya one of our things that we should do, make the people understand that it is these doctors that is actually causing this problem. And when we have pressure on those doctors, I think we can accomplish more.
Yes, yes.
Linawin natin, ha? We're not being cruel here for unnecessary reasons or not trying to be mean. The whole point of CDC Ph is base it on science. Nasa siyensya lang, dapat nasa siyensya po ang lahat na yan. But the face mask, face shields, lockdowns, none of that can be proven by science. But I'm the one speaking here. I'll leave that to the two doctors. Docs, can you tell us again?
You've read more, I think, than some of us.
No way.
But for example, in Ireland, di ba, si Ivor Cummins is identifying their Secretary of Health as the one who's ano yan? Anong word na ginamit niya? Some special kind of idiot?
Special kind of stupid.
Stupid pala. So I think we should do the same here in the Philippines. We should identify that special kind of stupid. S din naman ang word ng stupid eh.
Okay.
Saka when you say science,
Anong nangyayari
Sige,
sa
Doc.
atin?
Sige, Doc,
Parang yung nirereklamo ni Dr. Peter McCullough, sabi niya, bakit daw, during the time of pandemic, nung si Trump ang president, kahit ngayon, bakit si Fauci lang ang palaging nandun? Hindi nila tinatawag a panel of doctors na nagpa-practice. Kasi si Fauci
Correct.
hindi naman niya nagpa-practice eh.
Correct.
Si Secretary Duque, hindi naman niya nagpa-practice. So, they don't know anything about what's in the hospital. What is in the hospital setting. Yung mga clinical exposure ng mga
Pero
yung mga so-called experts na yan.
sa Cebu, nung nagsalita si Dr. Salvania, sabi niya, I treat patients. Kinikwento pa siyang isang namatay na pasyente. So, he's treating patients.
Really patients.
Yan ang sabi
Baka
niya.
nire-refer lang sa kanya. Nire-refer lang sa kanya. Hindi yun pumupunta sa mga patients palagay ko.
Kumbaga online
Palagay ko nire-refer lang sa kanya.
text consultation.
Tapos nagbibigay lang siya ng written instructions or phone instructions. Kasi ang mga nagtitreat doon, yung mga pulmonary specialists, mga cardiologists, kidney specialists, yung mga infectious disease, nire-referan lang sila niyan eh. Hindi naman talaga sila yung pumupunta doon sa pasyente para tumingin ng pasyente.
While we're on the While we're on the topic of Dr. Salvania, one of the things, Doc Iggy, that he mentioned in the meeting with the Cebu Provincial Government Board was that he does not want to open up Cebu kasi anyone else because if Delta virus gets in, magkaka-surge na yan at maraming mamamatay. So
okay,
the thinking,
ganito kasi, when you ask an infectious disease doctor, he thinks he's just like opening the door to a house. Magaling ang infectious disease doctor, individual patient. But does he understand that if you close the whole airport and do this thing and that, you will affect so many peripheral things. So kailangan public health ang ating kinakausap, hindi mga infectious disease doctors. For example, remember the time during March, April last year, that you will not be sent home until you get 3 negative tests sa RT-PCR. That is an infectious disease protocol. But it's not a good public health protocol. Ang tagal nila bago tinanggal yun. And remember, that was the time na napakakunti ng ating RT-PCR test. But, these are the smart doctors, but they were still doing the same thing. Pero kasi nga, they're good at managing a single patient. They're one patient, their second patient. But they should not be the one being asked with regards to yung policies. Policies are decided upon by public health, epidemiologists, infectious disease, Even dapat nga, pati mga GPs, primary health physicians, that is the panel that should make up the one that advises
Should be a panel.
Duterte.
Not
Panel.
only
Hindi pa
one
pwede yan.
person.
Okay,
Napapansin ko hindi eh.
I will play devil's advocate. Meron daw silang panel. Ang lahat ng mga doktor ng PISMID, ang lahat ng doktor ng UPPGH, supposedly yan ang panel nila, ang experts nila.
Yeah, I think they named 3 already. But I don't think none of them yung talagang public health eh. They're mostly infectious disease doctors. Meron silang clique eh. And I think the clique needs to be identified. Really, how did you arrive at that, for example, this kind of policy that you are now using? How did you arrive at the fact that you claim as fact that this variant is lethal? Where is that? Where did that come from? Walang basis yun whatsoever na this variant is lethal. This Delta
Dalawang klase science ang ginagamit kasi nila pag if they want something rigorous, especially they use medical science. Pero pag walang basihan, tapos sabi-sabi lang political science. Kaya yung sabi na patient is effective, mandatory mask is effective, lockdown is effective, political science lang yan, hindi not medical science. That's why for me, I still sustain that the lockdown is practically 70% political science, 15% military science, 15% medical science.
Even Fauci is he's an HIV expert. And he is expected to be the advisor for the whole pandemic. He's not a pandemic expert. Hindi siya dapat ang nandun actually.
Mas bagay si Atlas, no? Atlas was
actually,
public health.
well, the beauty of Atlas is that because he is not an infectious disease doctor, he is not a public health.
Public health
Public health. If I remember right, parang neurologist pa nga ata siya.
I can check
That's what
again.
I remember. Well, anyway, my point being, because he's an outsider, he actually looks at it from a bigger picture. Hindi siya yung microscopic tumingin. Ang ginagawa kasi nang napapansin ko sa kanila, micro sila tumingin eh. And really, this is causing the big problem. You know, just to say na, wag ka magpapakita for 14 days because that's how it is to quarantine a patient. But hindi ganun in real life eh. Asymptomatics ang 98%. But they're imagining in their minds, what if he's sick? Ganun sila mag-isip eh. What if he's sick? Ang epidemiologist doesn't think that way. They think, 99% of the time probably is not contagious because he's asymptomatic. Ganun dapat mag-isip.
Yun ang di ba, that was, and he's declared it more than once. Ang sabi niya, we cannot allow even one.
Exactly, mali nga.
What planet is he living on? I don't know. Anyway.
Yung scaremongering ginawa ni Salvania doon sa Cebu. Tapos naka-broadcast pa. Parang magkakamatayan tayo pag isang pumasok Delta variant.
Yes.
I was hoping I could go, but certainly I cannot invite myself to go. And I believe even Cebu provinces have their own experts then who was helping Pero kasi I think marami natatakot kay Dr. Salvania eh. But because he's the infectious disease specialist and the way he talks, but I'm not scared of him. Let me.
The way he talks is a bully.
Yes, sir, Noy?
The way he talks is a bully.
Yung pathologist ng Region 7,
Dr.
si
Loreche.
Loreche.
Yeah, she was very good.
She's a very feisty lady. Kasi sabi niya, dito sa pandemic na ito, wala naman talaga mga experts sabi niya.
Tama.
Lahat naman tayo nag-aaral. Lahat tayo nag-umpisa dito. Wala namang expert dito sa pandemic, sabi niya. So, I am basing my advice to the governor based on what we see on the ground. Ganon.
Tama. Sana sinabi na rin niya, Hoy, Dr. S, hindi lang ikaw expert dito. Dapat gano'n eh.
Wala siyang PhD eh. Okay, we're falling behind in the messages. Dynamic, sabi ni Vic, ang exchanges sa Telegram, kaso yun na nga, I find it challenging to navigate the app na sanay na sa FB. You and me both there, Vic.
Correct.
NE3386 3386 says, Miwi in Telegram po, hindi nagsisensor pero medyo nagugulan ako sa interface. Ayan, ako rin. Okay, yup, sabi ni Vic Yang, Miwi too. Ernie's Journals, okay, here we go. Ernie's Journals, Sydney Travels, hashtag Sydney Travels. Thanks to both doctors who took the time to give free medical advice when my whole family in the Philippines were COVID positives a couple of months ago. Sino kaya yung mga doktor na yan? Ano? I wonder who.
Si Homer saka si Dr. Del Mundo yun.
Okay. Big Tech says, when a fully vaccinated one gets infected and recovers from... When a fully vaccinated one gets infected and recovers from C19, does he gain natural immunity? Minsan pa, when a fully vaccinated person gets infected and recovers from C19, does he gain natural immunity?
Good question. Course.
Yes.
The answer is of course. But, before COVID-19, rewind time, 2018 today, you ask that question, we all know the answer, right? Something has changed in 2020. They made it appear na parang you still don't have immunity.
Yun.
And it's really some kind of narrative na pinag-uusapan natin. When did this kind of thinking in the medical field na pag nagkasakit ka,
Oops, nawala si Doc. Doc Iggy, nagsasabi ka. Doc Homer, Doc J, do you want to continue the thought? Naputol.
Actually, there was a study in Singapore that made a pronouncement that there was yung SARS-CoV-1, sabi nila, merong natural antibodies na existent doon sa mga nag-survive ng SARS-CoV-1. And sabi nila, that was 2003. Nag-test sila nitong 2020. Meron pa. Sabi niya, meron pa silang mga natural antibodies. Meron sila ng mga T-cells, sabi niya. May mga plasma cells sila. And marami silang mga sabi niya. So, very, ang tao, sabi niya, malakas ang immunity ng tao. Talagang create siya ng Diyos para to counter this microbe, sabi niya. So since 2003 hanggang 2020 nung tinest nila sa Singapore, nung mga nag-survive doon sa SARS-CoV-1, meron pa silang mga antibodies, sabi niya. So itong SARS-CoV-2, meron mga antibodies yan. Ang pinapalabas lang ng mga so-called experts natin, wala namang antibodies. Ganon. Kasi gusto nila mag-vaccine tayo.
Tapos, even to make the lie even worse, they will tell you na walang use ng antibody testing.
Yes, yun ang sinasabi nila.
They even make that lie propagate even more.
That's a lie.
Wag na raw po yung antibody testing. There's no test daw. Oh my.
Okay. And while we're on that, ito, malaking pasabog ni Doc Homer yan yung neutralizing antibodies test. You got your new toy a few weeks back, yung iChroma neutralizing antibodies and other test kit. How is it performing so far? What do you think?
Yeah, so we have the iChroma test for yung neutralizing antibodies as well as quantitative antibodies, IG and IgG. So, quite good, no? So, we could really see and monitor kung talagang meron silang neutralizing antibodies. So, when we say neutralizing antibodies, your body, kasi they come as percentage. So, yung value ng neutralizing antibodies from 0 to 100%. So, when your neutralizing antibodies is 30% and above, 30% and above, it means that your antibodies, yung IgG is able to catch. Kaya pinatawag ng neutralizing, it can catch the virus and stop it from invading yung host cell. That's what we call neutralizing antibodies. So, yun yung test na ayaw ng mga drug companies at yung mga so-called vaccine experts. Because, kumbaga, it will really tell can show that if did the vaccine really work for you? Did the vaccine really work in being able for your body to mount a immune response in cases that you get, exposed to the COVID virus? So I think that's really one test that we have to look into, as a parang tawag natin prevalence ba, zero prevalence. So I think this is a very important test. In fact, sa US, FDA also has already approved itong neutralizing antibodies.
And that I'll throw that question to Doc Iggy. Doc Iggy, if this test can show us, could show us today how many Filipinos already have that natural immunity, what is the figure you would guess we are at today for herd immunity? Nakamute ka yata, Doc. Nakamute ka nga, Doc.
By seronegative, I think we're probably nasa 40%. Kaya lang ganito kasi ako mag-compute ng herd immunity. It's not all about seronegativity. It's part of it. So I think, kasi di ba, how many people have gotten COVID na na-test? 1.5 million?
Nakina natin. Okay.
Parang konti. But I think multiply that by 10, that's the real number of people who already got COVID. But probably some of them did not test. Some of them probably did not even feel it.
Right.
So let's put it at around 20 million na siguro. So 20% meron na tayong zero. Tapos sige, magdagdag pa tayo nung na-vaccinate. How many is that? 3 million or 13 million? What's the population of the Philippines?
118, 120.
Oh, so we're probably nasa 20%, 20% seropositive, meaning we probably have some kind of But remember, COVID does not kill everyone.
Correct.
COVID does not even affect everyone.
Correct.
So yun yung binibilang ko na other 40% na will be part of the herd immunity.
So
we're
palagay mo,
probably,
nasa magic number na tayo. We're there.
I think nearing it, but hindi pa siguro talaga nandun, but nearing that number. However, tandaan nyo, ang herd immunity, pag dumadami ang nagiging diabetic, bababa yung herd immunity. Pag dumadami tumatanda, bababa na naman yung herd immunity.
Yeah, but we're talking about years, Doc.
No.
Hindi naman
Yes.
yan, no?
But, in a year, probably an additional 100,000 diabetics per year. So maybe because of the COVID, maybe another 500,000 people became diabetic from
Gotcha.
So that's a lot. So that's how I count it.
Here's a
I think we're near, but it's really hard to say until you do a serum testing.
Okay, here's a great segue to that discussion. Sally, again, halatang kaibigan ni Doc talaga. Great study from Verta Health. By looking after health, particularly metabolic health, avoiding high carb and ultra-processed foods, vitamin D levels can vary greatly affect health and resistance.
Correct. Yun yung sinasabi kong 50% that doesn't need to get vaccines, that doesn't need to be exposed, they'll be resistant.
Okay, sabi ni Jenard.
Thank you, Sally. Thank you, Sally Clark.
Jenard says, virus theater trumps common sense for this admin. Sabi ni Bunny, sir, may I have the name of the other prophylactic for C19? What is the dosing also? Is it only by prescription? Medyo mahaba na listahan natin, Doc Homer, di ba? Fluvoxamine, again, wala pa rin dito hanggang ngayon, fluvoxamine. So, curcumin?
Don't expect fluvoxamine anytime very
Okay.
soon because hindi sa generic medyo patented pa siya. I tried to look for it but
Correct.
sadly medyo mahirap po nito siya.
Okay, the other one we mentioned earlier was hydroxychloroquine, more easily found under HCQ, combined with zinc, correct?
Yeah. So hydroxychloroquine, that's 200 milligrams twice a day. Initially, for 5 days, and then one tablet or 2 tablets once a week.
Okay, and yes, it is only by prescription.
Yes, it's only by prescription. Fluvoxamine again is not for prophylaxis. Fluvoxamine.
Okay. Treatment only.
The other option to fluvoxamine, which we have right now, is yung tinatawag natin ciproheptadine. Ciproheptadine is anti-allergy medication or antihistamine. Baka si Doc, si Sir Mano, naabutan ng ciprofloxacin. Apparently, this is an old antihistamine, no? They use this in children if they have poor appetite. So this is a drug before that was available in the market. So, but now they found that ciprofloxacin is very good in those who have severe COVID. This is what SLCC doctors, including Dr. Garon, was talking about here, discussing COVID, severe COVID, he would use ciprofloxacin. We also see that this is also used for post-COVID, post-COVID long haulers. Uh, so yun. So I think we have some of these, but fluvoxamine medyo mahirap. But there are other antidepressants. Kasi fluvoxamine is antidepressant. So the other antidepressants we have similar effect yung fluoxetine. Fluoxetine is available in our pharmacy. So it's also effective.
Okay, that a more complete list I think is on c19study.com, hindi ba? c19study.com. You just have to do a lot of research kasi all of that is still being studied. Yung curcumin is very new, Doc, no? Yung turmeric and curcumin is being bago pa lang. There's only a couple of studies so far, correct?
Only 3 or 4 studies.
3 or 4 pa lang.
Still a small sample. We will see kung merong magdadagdag kasi nga it's a supplement. So medyo wala naman masyado ng pansin.
Okay. Sally Clark, si Doc, we lost Doc Iggy again. Sabi Sally, yes, back charging is killing small business and general subcontractors. My client requires frequent testing, charges costs back in full, even though these costs were never included originally. Aray. Any comments there, Sir Noy? Nakamute ka, sir.
Back charging? Ano yun? Back charging?
Kumbaga, binayaran, back charging, parang, I asked you to do this.
Yeah, no, what it means is like this. Kunyari, ako yung may-ari ng isang business.
Okay.
And Sir Noy, kayo po yung sinab-contract ko to do something for me. So, but because I want my company to make sure that it's COVID-free, so I will do testing every week, every 2 weeks, or whatever, and I will charge it to you.
So, anong part ng back charging doon, Doc?
So essentially, essentially raising the cost of business kasi
Correct.
parang kasi kung minsan halimbawa contractor, competition din kasi yan, medyo manipis ko minsan ang margin dyan, tapos may mga errors ka pa, like for instance, sudden change in the design of the construction, so that will add additional cost. Tapos ipilitin mo na lahat ng worker halimbawa ay magkaroon ng mandatory test, so sabihin mo na 3,000, tapos mayroong mga nag-positive at obligado na mag-quarantine, so babayaran mo pati yung kanilang pagpapagamot. Kaya nagpatong-patong na yung cost eh. Kaya pag siya siningil mo, o sige, bayaran mo yung back charging ko, wala na akong pambayad. O kaya, kung gusto, magdemanda ka. Parang ganun. Mabigat.
Oops. Okay. Sabi ni Vic, mukhang kordon na kordon si PRRD with what's going on with the rest of the world on the handling of the pandemic. He seems utterly clueless. Any comments from you, gentlemen? Okay.
Partly true and partly correct. Partly true, partly wrong. Kasi partly true kasi mayroon talaga mga katulad na banggit na natin, katulad ni Dr. Salvania, etc. doon na talagang may vested interest sa pagpapakalat ng bakuna. At the same time, gusto rin yata ni Presidente Duterte na walang tuloy-tuloy yung lockdown, saka malaki yung budget sa bakuna kasi siguro inisip nila election for next year. Ang pondo.
Okay, this is still on the discussion earlier about the restaurant. There is no mandatory vaccination law globally. No mandatory vaccination. There's not even there's not even vaccine passports in the airport, international airport. Parang wala pa yata, di ba? Meron na ba? Anywhere in the world?
Wala pa.
Hindi na alam ko eh. Sabi ni Jenard, why are rights being held contingent to vaccination? Yan ang tanong.
Mm.
Si
Ang
Vic,
ginagawa ng mga gobyerno, kasi pag actually sa Pilipinas, kasi pwede ka nang pumasok pag walang bakuna, kaso lang mandatory quarantine ka 14 days. So, talo ka na agad kasi hotel ka babayaran mo lahat yun hindi naman walang subsidize. So, parang penalty rin
oo nga. Sabi ni Vic Yang, magandang gabi Doc Jade. Di ko talaga makalimutan yung sinabi mo dati na sinungaling si Domingo ng FDA. To be honest, the IETF is a boys club or more like a brat boys club. Every word they utter are so lame. Gusto mo comment dyan, Doc? Or shall I
That's
keep
right.
going? Okay. Sabi ni Sally, the waiver signed by recipients removes all liability to government, manufacturers, and medical professionals. So even if coerced, if one signs, then no recourse. Even if coerced, if one signs, then no recourse. I remember, Sally, what one lawyer told me before is if a contract is unconstitutional, then even if you signed it, it can be broken. I'm not a lawyer, so yan. Ernie's Journals, when people who have been infected with SARS-CoV-2 develop antibodies specific to this virus, will they still be needing vaccination? Ayan, mga doc. When people who have been infected with SARS-CoV-2 develop antibodies specific to this virus, will they still be needing vaccination? Hindi, di ba?
No. Hindi
O,
nila kailangan.
di bakit pinipilit na lang magpapakuna yung mga taong recovered na? Okay, Vic Yang again. Sabi ni Vic, ba't nga ba ganun ka influential si Salvania sa IETF? Lame. Sabi ni Chilled Cha, nakakaasar na nga yan Salvania na yan. Why can't he just keep quiet? He does more damage than good. Any comments, gentlemen? Okay. Di ba, Doc, sabi ni Vic, ang RT-PCR according to the inventor, Carrie Mullis, is not a diagnostic tool. Ba't yan ang ginagamit ng Pilipinas? Sheesh, sobra na talaga. Hindi lang Pilipinas gumagamit. And did Carrie Mullis really say it's not a diagnostic tool, mga doktor?
Yeah.
He did. Okay. So, bakit daw? I don't know kung rhetorical question, pero bakit daw natin ginagamit sa Pilipinas and all over the world? Rhetorical. Okay.
Kasi yun ang inintroduce ng WHO. WHO was the one is the culprit. Actually, yung si Dorsten was the promoter of that
Sa who?
RT-PCR.
Sa who, Doc?
But the original inventor did not said that it is not supposed to be used to diagnose an infection. Pero si Dorsten, siya yung went on and then she talked with the WHO.
Wow.
So the WHO made that the gold standard for
Siya pala yun,
diagnosis.
Okay. Kaya siya kinakasuhan ni Rainier Fulmic.
Yes.
Okay.
Oo.
Okay, Sir
Endorsed.
Nonoy, sabi ni Vic, wala ngang lockdown but the CISO quarantine classifications is insane. I cannot disagree. Sir Nonoy? Nakamute ka, sir. Once again.
totoo. Kaya yung different types of lockdown, yung ang tawag ko nga dyan, yung MGCQ, Major General Kernel Quarantine, highly militaristic. ECQ, Enlisted Kernel Quarantine, no? Maalala kayo, magdagdag, for each letter doon sa CQ na yan, ay may mga military equivalent considering kasi ano yan parang sa 'di ba sa military is search and destroy. So you really quarantine something or ang tawag doon quarantine, isolate and destroy or ano doon may patari zoning. It's a very very militaristic strategy being used on the civilians.
All right, Kai During says, good evening. I'm a bit late. We'll review later. Kai, I hope you speak Tagalog because we went into a lot of Tagalog on this broadcast. Chilled Cha 445 says, Delta variant, Delta Plus variant, parang bagong model lang ng iPhone yan. It's like a new model of the iPhone. Okay. NE3386, pikon naman si Doc Salvania ng bablak.
Ay totoo 'yan kasi katulad nung nag-comment lang ako sa kanya kasi hindi naman kami magkakilala, hindi na kami nagka-debate dati, hindi kami friend. Nag-comment lang ako ng once nag-post siya about hydroxychloroquine binibira tapos nag-post ako ng isang article, Dr. Salvan, what do you think about this? First he deleted my comment pero ini-anticipate ko yun, kumuha ako ng screenshot. Sabi ko tapos nag-comment, Dr. Salvania, did you delete my comment? Ang sunod na, wala na, hindi ko na siya makita. Ibig sabihin, he black. Ganun siya kapikon.
Uh, Vic Yang says, pero sa meeting ng Cebu Provincial Government with the IATF June 29, supalpal si Salvania ni Dr. Loreche. Who can explain? Did it happen? Talaga, hindi ko na. Ano pakikwento nga, Doc Homer?
No, I
you didn't see it.
sorry. I didn't see Dr. Loreche was talking to or referring to statements by Dr. Salvana. What I really saw was Dr. Salvana and the IATF team first making comments about their protocols. And then it was actually Governor Juan Garcia who really had the last say with regards to how they handled the quarantine process. And they told he literally, it was like a dressing down the IPA, telling them, this is what we did, and the way we did it, it really lowered the cases. So how can you say that we're not doing the right thing? And why don't you just let us be? Let us do what we have to do, because I'm here not as a doctor or a scientist. I'm here as an elected official. And the reason I'm here is I have to take care of the business. So let us be. So that was really that her actual last statement to IEPS before the feedback was cut off. So I really don't know what happened, or we didn't know what really happened after that. But definitely, Dr. Governor Wayne Garcia had the last say, because everything he said was correct. I think so, and it was on point. And just to again to reiterate, Dr. Salvana said that the Delta variant is so infectious and so deadly, especially to those who are not vaccinated. And I think this is very untrue, because we already have data from England showing that, in fact, people who were vaccinated and had the Delta variant were 6 times more likely to die than those who were unvaccinated. Yeah, so I think I forward that in the Viber. I think of Mr. Convento was the one who sent that graph, so it was really a powerful uh, graph showing that those who are vaccinated were even more likely to die from the Delta virus. So I think we have to reiterate and push out this what's this story on the Delta. Sorry, hindi ko ma-share kasi jailed ako sa FB. So,
surprise! Surprise! Jailed na naman si Doc Homer ng Facebook. But no, I just remembered what it was. Nakwento kanina ni Doc Iggy about Dr. Loreche saying there are no experts here, where Dr. Salvani was presenting himself as the expert on COVID. She was saying, no, there's no experts because this is a new virus. Nobody's ever experienced it before. Pero good points, excellent points. Kai says, here in Dumaguete, they're using 35 to 40 cycles for the PCR testing. How come in the Philippines this high cycle is followed when many experts are saying no more than 30?
No more than 25.
25. I even heard 17. 17 is ideal, is what I heard. But go ahead, mga doc. Why are we using 35 to 40 cycles for the RT-PCR? Is it only in the Philippines? I don't believe it's only in the Philippines. I understand it was done in the US as well.
It was set by WHO.
And what's the actual number? Is it 45? I heard 45.
Sabi nila dito daw, we're using 45.
45. Okay, so what explain? Oh, that's the answer there.
Malaking pera yun, kasi kung isang false positive tapos iti-trace mo yung nasa bahay niya at office mate niya, so lagay mo lang tag 3,500 per test. Ilang 3,500, samantalang hindi naman dapat tinitest yun simply because your source is a false positive dahil nga ang taas ng city mo.
Yes.
So pera-pera rin doon.
Right. Ernie was our commenter kanina, and he explains that that was Doc Iggy and Doc Homer who helped out his family. So God bless you both daw, sabi ni Ernie. Sabi ni Ariel, the maximum cycle threshold value for RT-PCR is 28. More than that will result in false positives. Ito na naman. Ang alam ko, 17 ang ideal. Ano ba talaga? kuya?
25 daw.
Uh,
Kahit si Rainer Fuel Mix sabi niya 25.
25. Okay. So ideal ang 25.
Yes.
Okay. Sabi ni Vic, mukhang ang 100% immune dito ay ang vaccine companies. Remdesivir at gobyerno. Immune from suit. Tama ka, Vic. Tama ka. Ito pa sa...
Actually, yung ginagawa sa atin ng Sinovac, tayo yung third phase, third clinical trial, third stage. Ito yung ginagawa sa atin, yung vaccination sa atin, tinitest tayo sa third stage ng clinical trial. Hindi dumaan sa mga hayop.
Oh.
Inuna nila yung mga tao.
Sayang na wala si Doc Iggy dito. Sabi ni Vic, ayun, sa YouTube ni Dr. John Campbell, pinakita niya how COVID virus latches itself to sugar something. Kaya pala magnet talaga ang mga diabetic sa COVID. Sally Clark says, about half of my 40 staff tested positive, most asymptomatic, at worst mild. Assuming tests correct, that would be 50% herd. Would vary by area, but likely representative. I think she's referring to the our guessing at how close we are to herd immunity. Abba Del Cielo says, Doc Homer, audio mo daw muffled. Ay, ano ba yan? iPad? Ano ba tawag dyan? Yung
Yeah.
Talaga?
iPad. Sorry.
Sorry daw. Aba. Sabi ni Eleuterio Bernardo, more power to all. To you too, Eleuterio, thank you. Aba says, too much ambient noise from someone's mic. Okay. Sabi ni Big, sayang, muffled audio ni Doc. Nako, Doc. Okay, ganyan din sabi ni Child. Nako, Doc. Awawang Apple. Okay, Ernie's Journal. Is it true that Nigella sativa can be very effective against C19? Ito ba yung ano? Ano, pansit-pansitan? Tama ba? Mali. Nigella sativa? I could be wrong.
No.
It's effective against dengue.
So what is it? What is it in Filipino?
I don't know.
Okay. What is it in
Baka
Filipino?
matawa-tawa.
Atawa-tawa.
I forgot.
Okay, malapit na tayong Sally Clark says UK column news on 30th June had excellent discussion regarding Delta and risk for vaccinated versus unvaccinated. Excuse me, far worse for vaccinated. She's agreeing with what Doc Homer said earlier. Tapos, sabi ni Evelyn, can a 68-year-old male with 71 SGPT take IVM? Normal is 41. Thanks. Mga Doc. Alam ko sagot dyan, pero hindi na ako sasagot. Kayo na.
I mean, 71 is still okay as long as your SGPT, SGOT is not twice the normal. You can still take your IBM. However, you have to look at why is your SGPT, SGOT, or liver function elevated. Most of the time, you're taking a drug that's actually causing this elevation, or you're having what we call fatty liver. So you have to
Fatty liver.
Fatty liver. Okay,
Mostly
so
fatty liver.
what is the number at which you should talk to your doctor before taking ivermectin for SGPT?
My threshold for this is twice the normal highest range. So if the range is twice the normal, I would, think twice of giving the item.
So ano yung twice the normal, Doc? Ano ba yung normal?
Yung nga, kasi depende, ang thresholds natin is kumbaga 50. So anyone above 200, I would would be a bit more careful, no?
Okay. I hope that
200
answers your...
SGPT, may parang hepatitis na, no?
Okay. And finally, sabi ni Sally, more power to the Philippines. And of course, we say amen to that. Okay, closing words na tayo, gentlemen. We've done an hour and something. Any final words from you? Let's start with the two doctors. Doc Jade?
Yeah, I think that IATF should consult more doctors rather than just one or a single organization. Because it's not fair that you exclude doctors who have also specialized in different aspects of public health, let's say epidemiology, or uh, uh, yung public health in general, no? Because they put into consideration many factors aside from purely scientific medicine. Yung ano din, yung economy, no? Economics. Tapos yung social milieu of the location of the locality. So lahat 'yon come into play when you deal with uh, problem like a pandemic. Hindi lang science ito. It's a combination of all the things that are needed by the people to be able to put up a policy which is very uh, yung ano talagang rational policy for public health. So, tamang si Dr. Iggy na kailangan talaga may public health person dito. Pero yung mga public health person naman sa DOH, hindi naman sila, hindi sila parang updated. Ganon. So, it's these people na kinoconsult nila who they think have the monopoly of knowledge in giving these policies. Oo. Kaya kawawa tayo.
All right. Sherry has a question, mga doc. Sirs, actually, not just the medical questions. My 14-year-old daughter is being required to do swab test every time she visits the dentist for braces adjustment. Is there a way to opt out of this? Is this even legal? Thank you. Sabi ni Sally,
Ay,
Sherry,
umalis ka na sa dentist mo na yan. Bakit ganun?
yan din nga sabi ni Sally. Change dentist, no problem for my 12-year-old and her dentist. So hanap na lang ibang dentista. Tama nga naman. Oo. Is it legal? Mga doc, is it legal ba? They can claim they're following
No. Depende naman kasi yan sa mga dentist. So you do not need legality for that kasi sa micro decision. Isang building o lahat ng papasok sa building namin kailangan may swab test. So ang pwede mong question lang siguro dyan yung building. In this case, ang pwede mo lang question ng dentista. Pero about legality, wala yan. So ang gagawin mo lang doon kung hindi magandang patakaran niya, huwag ka na pumasok sa kanya.
Okay.
But I think that parang bahay yun. Sa bahay namin, dapat pumasok kayo. Dapat walang sapatos, walang nag-UC. Pag nag-violate ka doon, paalisin ka. So it's just a very micro decision.
Ako, anti-swab ako. So, I did what the big tech is suggesting, which is get the Red Cross saliva test alternative. Sabi ni Sherry, use the saliva test alternative.
You know, I don't like the saliva test.
Oh, bakit?
Hindi siya accurate.
Hindi siya accurate. Okay, negative ako 3 times, Doc. So, I'm happy. So, hindi pala kasing accurate sa swab test.
Yes.
Sabi ni Ariel, Sherry, your dentist is under Big Pharma. Okay, final. Si Vic may pahabol. Yes, dapat mabutasan talaga ang kordon. CDC Ph should lobby for frequent audience with PRRD until he's enlightened. He need not have to wait for the Supreme Court to put him back to his senses. Vic, since September pa kami magwa 1 year kami sumusulat kay Presidente. Ayaw talaga niya makipag-meeting sa amin. Either that or people are blocking. Actually, if he wanted to, he can always say, I want to meet with these people. And we've been writing since September, but wala. Okay, Doc Homer, last words, please.
Hi. So actually, I would like to tell everyone, number one is, if people, especially those authorities, trying to tell us we have to do this because of this and that, I think the those in the government offices or those who policymakers should make sure that it's backed by data. So going back to what Dr. Salvana said during the special session in Cebu, saying that data variant is deadly. I think that's very, very wrong because the data shows that it's otherwise. So I think that's a great, that's a great, whatever uh, you want to call it. I think it's very, very, that really kind of triggered me to have this uh, talk today, right? I think Marie, I was the one who's trying to tell you we have to do this talk because this is really getting out of hand. People telling their stories without backing up stories. So I think that is one thing that we have to make sure that we have to make them accountable for what they are saying. We cannot just let them say whatever they want to say just to prove their own narrative, their own point of view. So we always have to make sure that they have to back it up with data, not with their own opinion and their own biases. And number two, I think it's really time for everyone to really come out and show their voice, show their opinion about this matter. Okay, we cannot just let the government or policymakers to make decisions without really thinking about what are the implications exactly with, just like what you had a problem earlier, Marie, with your vaccine passport. I think that's really, we have to stop this. We cannot
Talaga.
continue this. I think getting way, way out of hand. So I think people should really voice out, especially now that we're nearing an election. I think we really need to come out and show our voice, show our strength with regards to what we really want to do.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Salamat, Doc Homer. Sir Nonoy, if you were, Lucio Tan called you today, what would your advice be to him about PAL?
Ah, Well, sa business walang choice kasi they have to follow government. So if the government is horribly dictatorial, I mean, either be part of the dictatorship or just to shut down your business. Kaya kawawa na lang, pasensya na lang. Pahabaan ng PC. Siguro dati nang marami ng financial problem si Pal na dagdagan pa nitong endless lockdown kaya nagpatong-patong. I think kasi to file for bankruptcy is somewhat to protect you from so many lawsuits. So you have to file it as soon as possible. No choice siya.
All right. Any final words for the rest of the Philippines apart from Sir Lucio Tan?
Yung ito kasi parang ang may pattern papakinggan mo magmula pa yun sa mga 60s, 70s, population crisis, oil crisis, energy crisis, hunger crisis, food crisis, education crisis, climate crisis, virus crisis, garbage crisis, plastic crisis, vaccine crisis, kung ano pa, siguro girlfriend crisis, boyfriend crisis, no? Isama-sama na. Ang source dito usually sila WHO sa kala UN din. Kaya pag habang dinagdagan nila yun nung dumadanda, lalong kaduda-duda yung kanilang agenda.
All right. Thanks to everyone who tuned in and watch out for the next one. Yes, we will follow up with another one very soon. Doc Homer, are you promising to commit? Doc Homer, are you promising to commit to the next one, to the next live stream? Hindi ata ko narinig, Doc Homer.
Yes yan.
Oh, sige, yes na daw. may SPA yata si Sir Nonoy sa'yo. Okay, thanks everybody for tuning in. Thank you to our doctors,
Salamat.
Dr. Jade, Dr. Homer, Dr. Iggy, and Sir Nonoy. And I'm Mari Kaimo. We'll see
Thank
you
you.
next time. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you.